Hey everybody, John here with a little Prologue 5 dilemma here. I've got a PlayStation 3 set up and I'm trying to download the Prologue 5 update, and I just literally keep getting errors. So you can see I'm in the game, I'm in Prologue 5 update. If I go to news, I go to GTTV, I go to online, any of these options here, oops, I can't get any information, because if I try to go online, for example, to play, the game is going to ask me for an update. And what it's going to do is it's going to try to go out to the Polyphony's server and try to find an update. It's going to come up and eventually hopefully ask me for an update, and there it is. You hit OK, and it says preparing to download an update. And you sit here for, hours upon end hours, and you can't receive the update. Now the issue I have is, I understand, because I'm in technology and I understand that there's always updates to things and they always want to improve things. There's the preparing to download in progress. That's fine, but the problem I have, and the reason why I think a lot of people are upset, is the fact that once they push the update out to the servers, functionality of the game stops working. So if Polyphony decides to do an update, what winds up happening is all the services on the game just stop working until you receive this update. Now, they haven't really given a lot of information, but web information and other people are speculating that this is a very large, it's like a 2 GB update. And it's interesting because Polyphony isn't following the same developers strategy of using not the Xbox, the PlayStation 3 servers, so that you could do distributing computing. You can distribute the computing platform out. If it's a very large update, if you're using the PlayStation network, you can set all that information up on the PlayStation servers, and it can load balance. And if a lot of people are pulling the data down, it can do like automatic resuming and things like that this program can't do. See, because if you start downloading this application, or I'm sorry, this update inside of Gran Turismo 5 Prologue, you basically have to sit here and babysit it. Because if you walk away and it just says update is not available, the update doesn't occur, and you still have no update, and you still can't use many of the features that were advertised on the game. I really think that that's what's a lot of people's upsetment is about. To go over my setup real quick, I've got basically a whole cabinet and resource dedicated to my 52-inch Samsung LCD television. I've got a pretty high-end Bose surround system, an Apple TV, Comcast digital cable with PVR, and the PlayStation 3 down there at the bottom. I have a 40 GB PlayStation 3. I generally use it for Blu-ray playback of Blu-ray DVDs or Blu-ray discs and DVDs, and I play some games on it. And there, as you can see, okay, we just got the error again. Okay, comes up, says unable to, an error has occurred with the update. So you hit OK. It shows me now that nothing's basically been downloaded, and I have to go back again and repeat the steps all over again. And if you notice on the page here, I'm supposed to be seeing like a calendar and dates and times and my information for the game, but I can't see that because the game doesn't read that now off the servers, because they made those updates. I mean, nobody really has any information on why they did this. Now, just trying to connect back in to just redo the download, I received another error as well. So then we go back, and we just keep repeating these process until we finally can download the update. Yeah, what they should do is either A, they should have put this out on the PlayStation Network. Okay, now I'm getting a request to log back in again, and I'm going to log back in, and it's going to say preparing again for the download. Or B, what Polyphony should have done is they should have let the old game continue to play. And that way, if you couldn't get the update, you still could take advantage of the disc features and all the features of the game set. That's really puzzling. I mean, they just can throw a switch at any time and just say, your game can stop working because we've come up with these updates. That's fine as long as the manufacturer provides me with a reasonable way to get those updates via request to get a copy of it on a disk, or a reasonably way to like download off the internet. I mean, even the PlayStation updates themselves, you're able to go on the Sony's website and you can download the PlayStation updates directly onto a memory card. You can take that memory card and you can put it into the PlayStation, and you can update the PlayStation via the memory card. So if you can do that with the operating system, I really don't know why you're not able to do this with a game such as Gran Turismo. And it is a fantastic game, and I think a lot of the frustration is that people enjoy playing the game so much that they get really upset when they can't actually download the data needed. Seems like from my expert opinion, in being in the computer field for the last 30-some years, it seems like there must be a set of servers at Polyphony's location, probably in Japan, and there's probably a point where either they're getting inundated with so many requests on the server that they can't dish out the request, because here it looks like I'm just basically waiting for a request to come back to begin the download. Once that download request occurs and it matches it to my system and they're able to basically start the download, my opinion is that the servers are getting so inundated with requests that basically the server times out. The connection drops. As anyone knows, in the technology field, there's a checksum that occurs, and it checks and it says, okay, are we receiving data? And there's a built-in timeout that the program has. It says, if I haven't received data in so many minutes or so many seconds, just abort the download. That way you're not tying up the link with the server, and then the server can move on to the next request. And it's probably just so busy that it can't do that. So next, what we're going to do is once this stops, we're going to take a look at the actual settings, because a lot of people, you see we got a little blip on there. It looks like it's starting to download some of the information. What people have to realize with the PlayStation, especially if you're doing an Ethernet connection, and basically most of these games really do require Ethernet, you have to understand that you have to set your home router up in a certain way, unless you're plugging directly into the internet with your PlayStation, which I doubt most people are doing. You have to set the ports and the forwarding of those ports to the machine so that you will get these correct results. So in other words, what I'm trying to say is that on the PlayStation Network and on certain games, you would have to go into your router and make the router aware of those ports. Once those ports open up and allow traffic to come into your home where the PlayStation is set up, and leave your home where the PlayStation is set up to go back out to the internet, for example, for game sharing or online play, once those ports are forwarded, then everything functions correctly. So Sony uses a combination of TCP/IP and UDP ports, and in combination with those port channels, if you will, those port numbers, it gives you access to PlayStation Network, and it gives you access to all the dynamic information. So in the future, it's always good to look up if a game requires a certain port, because you may just be having problems based on the fact that you did not open a port up on your router. Curiously enough, when I did the research on PlayStation for this, on the internet rather, for Gran Turismo, it says that UDP port 6538 needs to be open to obtain information to the PlayStation Network. Now, upon further research, 6538 is basically just the port that opens to log me into the PlayStation Network. That has nothing to do with this download that's occurring here. The PlayStation Network, everyone, for folks that may not be online or people that don't have a PlayStation 3, it's basically like your passport to get into the PlayStation Network. You need a PlayStation ID in order to be able to save game data, track downloads, shop, purchase content, all that kind of stuff. Sort of like an iTunes account for Sony, for PlayStation. And a lot of these games require you to set up an ID, because when you play online, or they probably have metrics that can gauge how many times you're going on to a site or doing any kind of shopping or things of that nature. It's fine. You don't have to give any credit card information if you choose not to, so they're not requiring you to do a credit information. It's just that it's very frustrating that you can't download a game update. I mean, this is my, I'm going to say, it's getting pretty far actually on the, I guess because it knows maybe we're filming here. This is probably my, I'm going to say 30th attempt to try to get this information on the PlayStation. So I'm going to let this go. When it fails, I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you how we set up the PlayStation in the actual network setting.